Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dears. In this video we will be discussing what is computational linguistics, and we will be explaining this concept by asking 10 different questions, and we will answer these 10 questions and this way we will be able to understand this course computational linguistics, or what is actually computational linguistics about. So let's start with the first question. What is computational linguistics, and why do the students of linguistics feel it is not for them? The misconception is that when the general public or someone looks at the words computational linguistics, they think that it is the course related to computer science department, or it is something related to programmers. Actually, this is not the case. Computational linguistics is the course of linguistics, not the course of computer science, and we will understand it by defining this computational linguistics field. So let's define it. Computational linguistics is the scientific study of language using computational methods. There are different systems that are developed to understand, process, and generate human language. There are two very important things in this definition. One is understanding or the study of human language through computer systems. And the second is the development of such computer systems that can understand, generate, and analyze or process human language. The definition shows that the major focus of this computational linguistics field is on the linguistic knowledge or the language use. So computer is only working as a processor, as a method, as a tool for understanding, processing, generating, and analyzing human language. How human language is processed, how a computer program produces human language. So this way we can say computational linguistics is the course of linguistics, not computer science. Computational is the adjective. The basic noun is linguistics, the scientific study of language. How? Through computers. Now, the main focus is the scientific study of language, but through computers, or programs, or softwares, or computer systems. Now, let's go to the second question, and that is computational linguistics replacing traditional linguistics, or how this computational linguistics is connected with the linguistics we already know? For the students of linguistics, it is a point of worry. It is a narrative in the technology circles that the traditional linguistics has been replaced or will be replaced by the computational linguistics, and the data will replace the theory. Now we do not need any linguist to understand and to analyze the language. The machines can do it in a better way. Now, this is a misconception. Why? Because the neural networks works in large language models or in the computer systems are not parallel to the neurons and nephrons and human brain, which is very complex. Think of it as the cooperation between two disciplines. Suppose we are building a house. Now, on the one hand, we have our own requirements, needs, and these needs and requirements can be best understood by the architect. And we will ask him to map out whatever is there in our mind. Now, that map will be used by an engineer who will be constructing that house. So the architect understands the human needs, the mapping, the atmosphere, the sunlight, and all these requirements for the design of the house. On the other hand, the engineering knows the material, which material will be used, how it will be used, and how to construct that house according to the map that has been given to him by the architect. So it is a cooperation between an architect and an engineer. Now replace architecture with language or language data, and engineer with computer science or computer programs or computer software. The computer program works according to the data available to it. The data is actually the language. The language is processed through computer to produce again language. On both the sides we have language, and the middle point is computer. Computer is just the processor, the input is human language and the output is human language, and we need a linguist to understand the input, how it can be labeled easily to be understood by the machine, and we need a linguist at the output level to see whether the language that has been produced by the computer system is more like a human generated language or machine generated language. These are not only two levels that I have explained. Actually, linguistics works at three levels: at theory level, at data level, and at output level. Now let's explain these three levels. The data level, the machines or the computer system needs data to process. Now that data is actually the data in language form, different categories, the label data. Now who will label this data to be easily understood by the machine? The linguist. How linguist will do it? According to the linguistic theory, according to the linguistic knowledge, he will divide and categorize this language data for this processor. These are two levels. Now there is a third level. When the machine produces the language, the third level, output level, again the linguistics needed to see whether the output which is produced is acceptable or not. So this way we can say that computational linguistics is not replacing traditional linguistics. In a way, it is enriching this field by looking at the scientific study of language, or the different components or the different elements of language through computational perspective, through software perspective. Now let's come to the third question. And the third question is, what are the 5 major areas of computational linguistics? These are 5 major areas. There can be more areas, but we will be focusing in this video on these 5 areas. The first one is the natural language processing. The second one is the corpus linguistics. The third one is the machine translation. The fourth one is the information extraction. And the fifth one is the speech processing. Now, how these areas are connected to linguistics? Let me ask you specific questions related to these areas, and the answers to these questions will tell you whether these areas are related to linguistics or computer science department. The first area, natural language processing. We can ask, how can a computer understand, generate, and process human language the way it is processed, understood, and generated by human beings? Now, to answer this question, you need to know linguistics. First, you will understand what is linguistics, how it is understood by human beings, how human beings produces that language, and then you will compare that knowledge to this machine generated language or machine output in terms of language. The second area is corpus linguistics, and this is very simple. We can ask a question: how can a language work in a specific context by examining a large amount of language data, or by examining a large collection of texts? So again, there are softwares available. You can use those software, but those software cannot make you understand what kind of language is used until and unless you do not understand human language and the linguistic knowledge to interpret human language. The third area is machine translation. How can we build a system or a software that can translate meaning from one language to another language, not words from one language to another language, but meaning. And that meaning and that translation must be very much suitable, acceptable by the human beings living in a society. The fourth one is the speech processing. So you can see many programs that can turn a speech into text and a text into speech on the computer and internet. That is speech processing. And the last one, the fifth area in computational linguistics, is information extraction. Now, how can we extract information like opinions, events, other things from a text, a large amount of text using computational tools. This is information extraction. So these are major 5 areas, and somehow these are connected to the knowledge you already know, to the phonetics, phonology, syntax. Okay, now the next question, the fourth question. What is natural language processing? Natural language processing is the entire enterprise of processing the language computationally. It starts from dividing sentences into different words, to understanding human language, to analyzing human language, to correcting human language through computers. And you always interact with this natural language processing on your daily basis. For example, you are typing a text on your mobile phone, and the mobile phone suggests the next word when you type the first word. What is working? The natural language processing, the software or the programming, the messaging software has been trained on large amount of data, and thus it is able to predict the next word. It can be wrong, but it has been trained and it is suggesting. So the language is processed by the machine. The second thing, you are translating from one language to another language using different AIs or Google Translator. And again, it is a machine doing this thing for you. So it is natural language processing. How language is processed through machines. The natural language processing, or this area, is these days very much common to everyone, and everybody in this society is using natural language processing one way or the other way. Now let's focus on the fifth question. What is corpus linguistics? It is again the area of computational linguistics. In order to understand what is corpus linguistics, we need to understand what is corpus. A corpus is a large, systematically collected collection of real text. For example, British National Corpus that contains 100 million words of real British spoken and British written English. In the same way, we have other corporas available on the internet, American corpora, any other collection of written text, real language texts. And what do? We analyze how language works in the real context. So this is corpus linguistics, and it is so easy for the students of linguistics because they already know it. There are softwares available for this analysis, and Comp is the easiest example. People use this software for corpus linguistics analysis. And now let's go to the next question. What is machine translation? It is also an area of computational linguistics, and perhaps this is the area where we need linguists who can understand language the most. Why? Because since 1950 till 2000, the translation models or softwares or programs worked on word-to-word translation, and when the output was analyzed, and usually when it is analyzed, it looks very much mechanical, and there are so many errors of meaning in the translation through machines. But after that, with the introduction of large language model, deep learning models, and the new inventions in the AI field, now the focus is shifted from word-to-word translation to the meaning-to-meaning translations. And we need a linguist to understand this process. Why? Because there are certain idiomatic expressions, certain cultural things that are available in one language and not available in another language. And when we try to translate one language to another language, we simply face these problems. Linguists are working around the world on this very issue. And the more you know the language, the more you can understand the translation and correct that translation according to the idea you have about a specific field. If you do not know the target language, if you know the target language, then the translation correction is very much easy for you. And all these misleading things of linguistic ambiguities, this meaning-to-meaning translations, idiomatic expressions, cultural things that cannot be translated, these are linguistic problems, and these problems can only be worked out by linguists, not by programmers. The next focus is, what is speech processing? This is the most interesting area because it is very much closer to the linguistics. Think about the speech to text or text to speech software or program. For a program to convert the text into speech or speech into text, first it needs to recognize the human language. Suppose the input is in audio and we need a program to convert it into the text. Now, the system that is needed for this function must know the phonetics, phonology, syntax, and semantics. Why? Because a human does not only produce sounds, they produce phonological combinations in different semantic units that is structured syntactically to produce grammatical sentences. Now, if the system does not understand how phonetics, how speech sounds works, how they are affected by the neighboring sounds, how they are combined to make words, how words are combined to make sentences, and how sentences carry meaning, how can it convert this language, this audio, into text? This is very much connected with the linguistic knowledge that you already know. So if you are conducting a research in this area, it is very much challenging but very much interesting. And if you are a student and you know these things, you are very much into this field of speech processing. The next area in computational linguistics is information extraction, and it is very much useful for the researchers in linguistics. Now, sometimes you need to know a particular information in a large amount of text. Suppose that you have 10,000 news articles and you want to know which political figure is mentioned in these article, what events have been focused in these articles. In some text you want to find out whether the writer is negative or positive towards a particular ideology, towards a particular thing. So you need to read all those articles and all those texts that is available to you, which is very much difficult, and thus many computer programs are and artificial intelligence tools are used to extract such kind of information for you. And the students who are conducting researches in critical discourse analysis, sociolinguistics, or media studies, they usually use these tools to find trends, events, and their requirements in a large amount of data. The last but not the least, what is large language model like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot, etc. The area that is very much popular these days, and almost everybody uses ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or Copilot for different purposes, and people have started asking these questions whether these models can actually understand human language. And the answer to this question is very difficult. They work on the prediction or the token system, and they know that if these tokens are input, they can provide such other tokens based on the patterns they have already trained on. So they have been trained on large amount of texts and data, and that is why they are capable of recognizing different patterns of human input, and then they produce output according to the questions or according to the input provided by the human beings. But there is still a very big issue. The issue is that most of the times the answers or the output of these large language models are very much misleading and inaccurate. They are very much wrong when you do not know how to prompt it. They provide additional misleading information that is termed as hallucinations of the large language models. You need to know about a field. If you are not a doctor and you are asking medical questions, you can be misled by AI. If you are not a linguist and you are asking questions about scientific study of language, it can mislead you because it works on pattern recognitions. It does not use brain just like human do. So the end point is that these days we need linguists most of the time to see these linguistic issues in the large language models. Now the last part of this video, which is very significant and important for the students of linguistics, and that is how can a student of linguistics, begin with computational linguistics research, or how can he or she engages with the computational linguistics without knowing a single line of coding. This is the most important thing. Most of us think that computational linguistics needs the understanding of computer systems or coding or programs or C++ language, computer languages. No, it's not necessary. I am explaining 5 entry points that you can enter into the computational linguistics field with your linguistic knowledge. The first entry point is very obvious, very simple: corpus linguistics. There is a concordance software available and count. You can conduct any research. You can analyze any text, large amount of text for certain different purposes, and you can dig out different issues through this kind of research. There is another one, sketch engine, which is used by computational linguists or corpus linguistic researchers. The second entry point is a language annotation. This is the most difficult job and it needs deep linguistic knowledge, because language annotation, labeling the language data grammatically, syntactically, or semantically, or pragmatically, and you label it for the machine learning so that a machine can understand it, can process it easily. The entry point number 3, again very easy. It is the research related to NLP production. The language that has been produced by natural language processor or the computer systems and programs needs evaluation. And you, being a linguist, can evaluate whether the translated text or the output text is pragmatically accepted, pragmatically accurate, syntactically accurate. What are the problems in this output of a particular machine or particular computational model? And this way you can identify many issues in the texts produced by computational softwares. The fourth one, you can make a theoretical contribution by conducting research in semantics, pragmatics, syntax, and then you can show how your research conclusions or findings have practical implications for computational linguistics. The last but not the least entry point is interdisciplinary research design. Collaborate with computer science programmers. Most of the times the projects, the research projects related to computers are not failed because the programmers are not competent, but because they do not know the linguistic aspect of the research problem or the research topic. So, being a linguist focusing on the issues of language in a society, when you want to, or if you want to solve these issues through computer programs, softwares, you can collaborate with programmers, with computer science students, and you can produce a very good research. Now let's end this video by giving you a very simple homework. If you are interested in computational linguistics, watch a video on how to conduct a research or how to analyze a text using AndConc software. Download AndConc software. It is available on the internet. Just upload a book or an article you are interested in and just look for a certain specific word, the concordance of that word, and search what kind of words have been used with that word in different context. And can you see different patterns in the text, in the different concordance lines that has been given to you by AndConc? Try if you can do it. This is computational linguistics. It is not that easy, but it is just an entry point. Thank you so much for watching this. Allah Hafiz.